Okay, we're getting in some breaking news after 2 accidents in 4 days. The Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu might have offered to quit as the Railway Minister. In fact, he has tweeted to say that he met the Prime Minister and he has taken moral responsibility, but the Prime Minister is yet to take a decision. Suresh Prabhu there tweeting, in less than 3 days, 3 years rather, as the Minister, I devoted my blood, sweat for the betterment of the railways, and that is the tweet we are reading out. And under the leadership of the Prime Minister, tried to overcome decades of neglect through systemic reforms. Consulting editor, India Today, Shiv Arur joins us for more on this. Shiv, there has been mounting criticism over the dismal safety record of the railways under the Modi government and under Suresh Prabhu as well.
That's right, and that probably explains this stream of tweets that have just come out right now from the Suresh Prabhu, the Railway Minister, Avantika, where he has actually ended by saying that he's taken moral responsibility, met with the Prime Minister. The indication appears to be that he has offered his resignation to the Prime Minister, but we don't know yet because he hasn't explicitly stated that in the tweets that he's put out. He said, in less than 3 years as Minister, I have devoted my blood and sweat for the betterment of the railways. Under the leadership of the Prime Minister, tried to overcome decades of neglect through systemic reforms in all areas, leading to unprecedented investment and milestones. So he's actually using this opportunity to talk about what he's done as Railway Minister, despite 2 accidents actually happening at this time over the last 48 hours. New India envisioned by Prime Minister deserves a railways which is efficient and modern. I promise that is the path on which railways is progressing now. Is this also a cry for help from the Railway Minister? I am extremely pained by the unfortunate accidents, injuries to passengers and loss of precious lives. It has caused me deep anguish. And then finally the message that everyone is talking about at this time. I met the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, taking full moral responsibility. Honorable Prime Minister has asked me to wait. Now that might seem a little mysterious, but let me decode that for all of our viewers. If Suresh Prabhu met the Prime Minister and took full moral responsibility can only mean an offer to resign from his post pending the investigations that are taking place at this point of time. Honorable Prime Minister has asked me to wait. Wait for what? Obviously, the Prime Minister has probably said, wait for a moment. This is, of course, us speculating right now. But what we can say when we read between the lines of those 2 sentences, I met the Honorable Prime Minister taking full moral responsibility. Honorable PM has asked me to wait. Obviously indicates that the Railway Minister has offered his resignation, but the Prime Minister has said, hold on for a moment.
Okay, we have with us India Today's Rahul Srivastav also for more. So, Rahul, what does that indicate? The line of the Prime Minister asking him to wait, because the opposition asking for Suresh Prabhu to take responsibility for not just the Utkal Express derailment, but the other, train-related incidents that have happened. And there have been about, 27 major rail accidents that have taken place.
Avantika, there have been 27 major accidents, but what is interesting is that there were 2 big ones. One was Kanpur and the other one near Vizag. And if you notice, in both the cases, the reports aren't really out. So the government and the Railway Ministry have been saying that since the issue also involved a sabotage angle and a terror angle, the investigating agencies were looking into it. That's why there is no final accountability fixing as far as those big accidents are concerned. And there was a sense of pressure, there was a sense of political and public disquiet, which definitely the government was facing the heat over. And that is why what we can now say is that Suresh Prabhu, in a one-to-one meeting with the Prime Minister, remember there was a cabinet meeting today morning, and after that, Mr. Prabhu has offered to resign. Now, what it means also is that with the Prime Minister telling him to wait and him taking moral responsibility, Mr. Prabhu definitely has tried to lessen the amount of attack the government is facing politically. And that statement that Prime Minister has asked him to wait is also very important, because there is talk of a cabinet reshuffle. Is the Prime Minister indicating to Suresh Prabhu that there could well be a change in portfolios? Given the kind of pressure the government is facing vis-a-vis the railways, once the Prime Minister finally decides to rejig his Council of Ministers, that weight element also has a lot of political significance to it.
And that's a very important point that you make, Rahul, that weight, the advice coming in from the Prime Minister himself, in the midst of that cabinet reshuffle. But tell me something, what actually is the reality? Has the government put out the numbers? Because Suresh Prabhu, the railway minister, has been accused of failing to perform his primary responsibility to ensure passenger safety. Then there have been a series of these train derailments. Why isn't it that the government is coming out with the numbers? Because there was also, news that train accidents, in fact, had been on the decline. Is that true?
Avantika, train accidents being on the decline cannot be touted as a matter of pride by any any government. The fact remains that the kind of promises with which this government had come vis-a-vis specifically the railway ministry, that, which caught the fancy of the public. There was a promise of bullet trains which will operate at least the speed of 200 kilometers per hour. Far from the bullet trains, somewhere we find a scenario in which express trains are facing constant derailment, be it human error or the deficiencies of the system. For example, Mr. Suresh Prabhu in his tweet also mentioned, is a very well-known fact that yes, the government did inherit an extremely moribund, dilapidated railway system, because over the last several decades, railway ministry was more of a political ministry where every ally of the then government, be it Atal Bihari Vajpayee or Manmohan Singh, used to treat railways as for distributing trains as freebies. Now there is tremendous amount of load on railway infrastructure. The tracks which are available are too inadequate to run so many trains, and that even fast trains. And if you see, a lot of these accidents are involving fast trains. And that is where the crisis for the government lies. It does not have the finances, one. The railways is definitely in losses. If you notice, realize last year, the railway budget was taken over by the finance ministry itself to minimize the kind of expenses. And that is where Mr. Suresh Prabhu has politically tried to minimize the kind of political barbs and attacks the government was facing because of the last accident.
Absolutely. And consulting editor Shiv Arur also continues to remain with us. But the Prime Minister, clearly saying, hold on, wait. And that's important, Shiv, isn't it? What are the kind of reactions you're getting to see on social media after, the railway minister put out that tweet?
Well, reactions are still coming in at this point of time, Avantika. But what we do know is that, remember, like Rahul was saying, Suresh Prabhu was specifically handpicked by the Prime Minister to be railway minister, with the intention that he would bring scientific bent of mind to a very, very difficult job as railway minister. Both these individuals with the certain knowledge that railways is one of the thrust areas for this government. They've had ambitious, things to say about where they're going to take the railways with the bullet trains, the high-speed corridor, etc., etc. And Narendra Modi has always invested in Suresh Prabhu, his personality, his bent of mind, his individual skills and abilities to take forward that vision as far as the railways. So for the Prime Minister to now ask him to wait now is understandable, because a certain amount of political capital has been placed on Suresh Prabhu. So to accept his resignation at this point of time after these two accidents, would be seen as a loss of face and a loss of faith in an individual in whom so much has already been placed. But for taking moral responsibility is perhaps a political imperative at this point of time because of the national spotlight on two accidents. The opposition, the Congress, others have mounted the pressure on Suresh Prabhu as well. They've made it an individual issue as far as the Prime Minister and Suresh Prabhu are concerned, and therefore you're seeing things actually end up this way. But it's not really surprising, politically speaking, not surprising that the Prime Minister has asked Suresh Prabhu to wait for a moment, though from this particular tweet and the reactions we're getting, it seems pretty clear that Suresh Prabhu has offered to resign.
Right, just stay on with me. Shiv, just request you to stay on with me. We have a couple of reactions. We have with us now former member with the Railway Board, V.K. Agnihotri, joining us now on the broadcast. Sir, good afternoon. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Some big news coming in right now with the Railway Minister taking full responsibility of the recent, train derailments and incidents that have taken place and offering to resign. Well, at least his tweet indicates, and he also saying that the Prime Minister has asked him to wait. Your initial reaction?
Sorry. I am not VK, I will not be a member railway board.
So, sir, could you just introduce yourself and give us your reaction? Okay, but there's some confusion there, but you know, this is big news right now with a tweet coming in from the railway minister, him saying that he has taken full responsibility and also categorically stating that the Prime Minister has asked him to wait and not to make any decision in haste. Rahul Srivastav has also, you know, been giving us all the updates. An interesting bit of news there, Rahul's pointing out to the cabinet reshuffle that is also up on the cards. But, you know, there has been mounting criticism from the opposition over, you know, Suresh Prabhu in light of the recent train-related accidents that have taken place. You know, the minister there facing a lot of criticism from the opposition, asking him to take full responsibility. And today, the railway minister doing just that in light of the Utkal Express derailment and most recently, the 10 coaches of the Kaifiyat Express derailing in Uttar Pradesh. So big news coming in there. It's over now to my colleague Divina, who joins us and will continue from here on. A big news, Divina, of the railway minister taking full responsibility of the recent train-related incidents.
Absolutely, Avantika. Thanks for this news. In fact, this is what we are tracking at this hour. Suresh Prabhu saying, I take moral responsibility. The Prime Minister saying, hold on, wait a minute. Now, here is the point. It's not the first time that a train incident that's been taken by the railway minister and has said that I will resign from my post. It's happened with Nitish Kumar earlier. It's happened with Mamta Banerjee earlier. Interestingly, in Mamta Banerjee's tenure as railway minister, she was part of the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government. And that time, Atal Bihari Vajpayee had said that he will not accept her resignation. So is it the same way that we're looking at right now? Is it just a token resignation as well? Is what we need to see. Renuka Chaudhary of the Congress joining us as well. Ms. Chaudhary, Congress has demanded for Suresh Prabhu's resignation. You've also cited it's been the worst tenure so far since 2014 from the Railway Ministry. The fact which have been released by the Railway Ministry itself shows otherwise. In fact, under Lalu Prasad itself, the number of incidents were many more. Your first response on Suresh Prabhu saying, I take moral responsibility and offering to resign.
Well, God forbid that we actually sit and compare how many people died in different kinds of governance. That's not the issue. The issue is railway safety and passenger safety that we need to look at. And accountability always rests with those who are sitting in a responsible post. So it's quite unlike the BJP tradition that Mr. Prabhu has offered to resign, because the BJP traditionally doesn't believe in bothering to say be answerable or accountable. So, and because Mr. Prabhu is not originally a BJP, so I suppose there is some yardstick left in him morally where he has taken the responsibility. Now, whether it will be accepted or not is what the BJP has to decide and project what they want to say to the people of this country. But having said all of this, I'm urging every government, every minister who's sitting there, railway safety is something that has taken a back seat. And that is something that we need to look at. You know, instead of them getting hysterical and having fluctuating lanes for tickets and bothering to focus on building up, selling government railway land to commercialize, I think this is the focus area that you need to do, is securing the railway first and ensuring that passengers travel from point A to point B safely.
Ms. Chaudhary, the government says that this time the budget allocation has been higher, the track development work is higher. We've seen Suresh Prabhu as a minister who's been very active and quickly responding to all the crises. You will also agree it's a very tough ministry to handle. It is a vast network of railways that Suresh Prabhu is handling. It is quite a tough job. Do you believe Suresh Prabhu is not the man for the job?
No, I have not said that he's not the man for the job for Suresh Prabhu. I think personally he's a very nice person. And I don't know what exactly went wrong. But the point is that it's not about how nice we are or not nice we are. It's accountability. That is the tragedy. You have to take accountability for what has happened. If trains are jumping off tracks, then let's focus on that.
Okay, so Ms. Chaudhary, do you believe the Prime Minister should accept his resignation?
I'm not the Prime Minister, so I would hate to think of how Mr. Modi thinks this is for him to answer, and let him do it.
But that will be a victory for the Congress. You've been demanding Suresh Prabhu's resignation. Thank you so much, Ms. Chaudhary, for joining us at the moment. Also with us currently is Mr. Dutt, who is the former Railway Board Chairman. Mr. Dutt, if you can hear me at the moment. Sir, you've been the member of Railway Board. It is quite a difficult job at hand when you see the vast network of railways. In your opinion, sir, how Suresh Prabhu's tenure been?
Madam, firstly, I was additional member, not member of the Railway Board.
Okay.
Secondly, I should say Mr. Suresh Prabhu's tenure has been one of the best ever. We are proud
All
of
right,
him.
Mr. Dutt, I'll have to interrupt you, sir. I'm sorry for that. We also have Dinesh Trivedi, who's joining us. He's been a former railway minister, somebody who's been at the helm of the ministry as well. Mr. Trivedi, in your opinion now, as Suresh Prabhu has offered to resign from the post of railway minister, how has his tenure been?
No, I really don't want to get into individual resignation. That depends on their level of morality. But the fact is, railways' basic structure, the foundation has been shaken up. And you need to make sure that the foundation is absolutely solid. At the moment, railway system has totally been derailed. The entire board is demoralized because you have a chairman who got 5 years extension for no rhyme or reason, as if there were no other talents available. And he is from stores, that doesn't matter. But the fact is, why do you give an extension to a retired chairman? It is not done. So I think the entire railway board is totally demoralized. So nobody is working as a team. And at the helm of affairs is the minister. So one has to leave it to his level of acceptance of responsibility, where I don't want to comment. Suresh is a very dear friend. I don't want to make any comments on that. That's up to him what he wants to do. But I think railway at the moment is very scary. If you tell me, I would be scared to travel by railway.
Mr. Trivedi, so you're saying the buck stops at the minister at the topmost level. The Prime Minister, though, asking him to wait.
Buck stops at all of us because we have played politics with the railways. I tried to reform the railways.
Yes.
My entire thing was reform, safety, safety and safety. But then which political party came to support me? Because everybody wants to remain in power forever. So I don't want to get into that because I'm pained, because such a great organization is one of the best organizations in the world. Given the proper direction and leadership, railways can turn around. And I was just listening to that deputy member, whoever, यहाँ तेल मालिश के सिवाय कुछ होता नहीं. यहाँ खाली जो मंत्री है उसको बटर पॉलिश करो और कुछ नहीं. That's it.
पर सर, आपने भी अपने टेन्योर में अनिल काटकोटकर कमेटी के ऊपर जो रिपोर्ट आई है वो इम्प्लीमेंट करने का एक कदम उठाया था. You'd constituted the panel for it as well. But
हमने कदम उठाया था.
But उसके बाद what happens? So here is the point, sir. What happens? Because of course it's a grievous situation on rail safety, which is a big question in India. But here is the point. Suresh Prabhu saying, I offer to resign, I take the moral responsibility. It's been in the past as well with Nitish Kumar, Mamta Banerjee. It's the same ministry where you have different government, different ministers. But what can lead to a change? At this point of time, the Prime Minister is asking that right now Suresh Prabhu should wait, not take a decision so soon.
I leave it to the Prime Minister, and I know Prime Minister is a wise person. Whatever he does it very wisely. So I don't want to get into that. But the fact is, I was wanting to convert the railway as one of the safest transportation system in the world. But then you know what happened. And I took the responsibility that if I can't fix it, I don't want to be there.
Absolutely.
And I had certain prescription to fix it. And if I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that. I can only tell you, railway is a fantastic organization. Today also, we have the best brains in the railway. Give them the opportunity. Give them the autonomy. I mean, here we have played politics with the railway.
But sir, that's why I want to ask you this. Does this resignation work? Because is it also a step from Suresh Prabhu's side? He's taken a moral responsibility for it. He's saying, I offer to resign. But does resignation of ministers is an answer? Because tomorrow you could have another minister at that same post.
But I also resigned. No, I resigned because if I thought that if I can't do whatever I'm cut out to do, whatever I require, then why be there? In political life, one has to take a moral responsibility, and that is how the public life works. But it is the captain of the team, which is the Honorable Prime Minister, and I think we should leave it to his good judgment. He is a very wise man. He doesn't take any step which is not in the interest of the country. So we leave it to him. And Suresh Prabhu is a very dear friend. So I don't want to get into individuals, but I can tell you, Railway's basic structure has been shaken up. The entire board is totally demoralized today because you have given extension to a chairman who is from the stores. That doesn't matter. But why give extension to somebody after his tenure is over, after he's retired? It's never heard of in the Railways.
So Mr.
today
Trivedi,
the board is not working as a team.
Right. Is now so the rot in the system, which needs to be dealt with a very firm hand, and hence you need somebody who can take the bull by its horn. So if not Suresh Prabhu, then who?
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you one thing. I know the Railways too well. And given a capable person, Railways can just turn around. And I can tell you in 1 year, you can see the difference. In 1 year. I'm not, because you see the foundation has totally been shaken up. You require a proper professional leadership, not only a political leadership. A professional leadership, a politician who is professional as well. I work in the Railway very, very closely to the entire board members, and we took all the decisions collectively, and we were not scared of anything. Today, Railway is bankrupt, but they say we have a lot of money. They are totally bankrupt. We have to understand the Indian Railways. Unfortunately, political system has played politics with the Railways. They have not understood the strength, and if Indian Railway is not strong, India cannot be strong. Look at our borders. We don't even have systems going across our border. This is what I said in my budget also. That
I remember that, sir. In fact, I remember that. And I remember the way that you had stressed on the railway safety at that point of time. But here is the point. When you say that entire system is politicized and the rot is in the system, my point is you had a chartered accountant in Suresh Prabhu, you had a 4-time Lok Sabha member in Suresh Prabhu, you had a very clean face, somebody who's been very quick with his responses as well, taken to social media during the time of crisis. He's been a very hands-on minister, and it is a rot in the system, as you've rightly put out. You've experienced it as well. So is the resignation of Suresh Prabhu an answer, is what I wanted to understand.
I would not react to that, but I can tell you, Indian Railways cannot be run through social media and Twitter. It's a very complicated system. It has to be run absolutely being on the field. And you have to motivate each and every worker. Like this accident which took place where 23 or so people, I mean, it's all poor lives. It was man-made. And it's criminal negligence. Criminal negligence. No civilized country can take this. Somebody has to be responsible. You can't make responsibility of a small little guy there. At the top, somebody has to be responsible. Whether it's the chairman, I don't want to get into who. But the fact is, Indian Railways, I'll repeat, that Indian Railway is still one of the best organizations in the world. Given the proper professional leadership, we can change the Indian Railways.
So what is it that Suresh Prabhu should have done differently, Mr. Trivedi? From your experience, what is it that the railway minister could have done differently for a futuristic railway?
Arey Baba, he should have understood the Indian Railways. The fact is, the railway is bankrupt, and he says there's a lot of money. I think the priorities were all mixed up. The priorities can't be pizzas and toppings and, Wi-Fi. And priorities has to be the basic structure. And the basic structure is all shaken up. I wish all the best for my friend Suresh Prabhu. And I do feel sorry for him. He's a good man. Basically, he's a good man. And nothing more. But I'm pained at the loss of lives also, which could have been easily avoided. Accidents are accidents, but this is not an accident. This was a human error. And that error was out of negligence. Couldn't care less. That block time, they should have stopped the running of the train when the track was being repaired. They didn't do that. They knew that the track is being repaired. They wanted a block time of 6 hours, 10 hours, stop it. In my time, such situation came, I said, stop the running of the train. We don't want to take a chance. But they take a chance.
Wait, take a chance, and also I'm also looking at the politics that's played around it, because it's not that easy, as you've said, to manage this system, to manage this job, and as you've said that it needs a professional handling. What should be done with the railways now? Because if you have the government of the day, which has a credible face, who's managing the railways, saying that I take the moral responsibility, I'm pained at the loss of lives. He's done what he could from his limited expertise. So what's the answer?
I don't know. I'm not there. If I was there, I would have told you. I'm not there at the moment, but I know railways too well, and I can guarantee you it can be turned around in 1 year.
So does it also reflect on the current dispensation and the way we see there is a focus on good governance? There has been a lot of talk about changing the system the way it's been. But do you believe this is also reflection of what much needs to be done? Perhaps the current dispensation needs to understand that it is the actual groundwork.
See, if I get into that, then it means I may be politicizing things. As far as I'm concerned, I repeat, the only thing is railways have lost its priorities. The foundation of the railway is shaken up. The entire railway staff is totally demoralized. I can tell you, never in the history of railways, the staff was so demoralized. You need a very solid and committed leadership, and a leader who is not bothered about whether he stays in power or not, but a leader who's committed to the railway and not to his seat of power.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Trivedi, for joining us. Appreciate you taking out time. And there you have the former railway minister who's spoken to India today, saying that somebody has to take a responsibility at the top. It's the captain of the ship. Even as Suresh Prabhu has offered to quit, it is the Prime Minister who's told him, wait a minute, don't rush on into it. Suresh Prabhu in his tweet has said that the Honourable Prime Minister has asked me to wait. Ghanshyam Tiwari of Samajwadi Party joining us. Mr. Tiwari, your first response to this news.
Well, I would say that we are waiting to see the story unfold. But the truth is that there's no room for moral victory in such tragedies. The truth is that we have to build confidence not only among the railway employees but also among the passengers, that their journeys don't end up as tragedies. At one accident a day, we are fast losing the confidence of passengers to travel by train, and such careless mistakes that lead to tragedies are just not acceptable in 21st century and in the India that everybody wants to build.
But it is a tough ministry to manage, Mr. Tiwari. We've seen earlier also, be it Nitish Kumar, be it Mamta Banerjee, Lalu Prasad as well. There have been a number of accidents. In fact, during Lalu Prasad tenure, he'd even gone ahead and blamed the gods for accidents, and that was completely preposterous. We have a face from the government who is helming the railways. He's been at the situation, very precarious situation for any leader to be in. Do you believe that Suresh Prabhu did not do a good job? He could have done a better job.
Obviously, he could have done a better job, is what I believe. And I'm not saying that the problem is any less. Railways has had a track record of accidents, and every year the burden on the railways mounts. Our tracks become weaker, our systems become weaker. The only hope that you have is there is now better technology available, better financing available. The government has broadly spoken, successive governments have broadly spoken about the agenda of railway safety. It is just that they have not acted at the speed that
So the Prime Minister, you believe, should accept his resignation?
Well, I would not comment on that. With respect to the Union Cabinet, we've been saying that this Union Cabinet is unlike any other time. We don't have a full-time defense minister, for example. So when a senior minister also offers to resign, is this going to be a Union Cabinet where there's only one Prime Minister and no senior minister in the Cabinet? Venkaiah Naidu has become the Vice President. So this is becoming a more and more lame and uncertain cabinet, and that is the cause of worry for the government, and we as an opposition have spoken about it.
Mr. Tiwari, appreciate you joining us. Reaction coming in from the Finance Minister as well. Arun Jaitley saying the Prime Minister will take a decision. Accountability is a good system in the government. This is a top story we're tracking here on India Today.